Systemic corruption is an outcome of a population focused on dancing with the stars while a dance of deception is occurring.
It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries.
Ample evidence exists to support the belief that a secret cabal of international bankers and politicians has been nudging us into the direction of a new world order for years. Starting with the Federal Reserve System in 1913, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the European Union and the Euro, NAFTA, the World Trade Organization, and the proposed North American Union and its currency, the Amero.
They're trying to speed the flow of both cargo and people, they say, across this nation's northern and southern borders. Critics call the plan an outright attack on our sovereignty. Congress has been looking the other way. Christine Romans reports.
Plans for an integrated North American community by 2010, moving ahead swiftly and under the radar. Robert Pastor is an author of the Council on Foreign Relations document seen as the project's roadmap.
We need to deepen economic integration by moving towards a customs union with a common external tariff. I think we need to enhance our security by beefing up both our borders and beefing up a continental boundary.
But critics fear an attack on American sovereignty, a super NAFTA, with borders erased between three very different countries with no public oversight. Texas Congressman Ron Paul is a rare voice of concern on Capitol Hill.
We're not supposed to give this to the executive branch, devising quasi-type of treaties that the Congress seems to not have any control of, and then it turns out to be managed trade for big corporations and not to benefit to our workers and to our people.
The House International Relations Committee and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee have not held hearings on this, and a high-level conference this month in Banff was closed to the press.
David Rockefeller is a self-proclaimed internationalist and an obvious elitist whose economic and foreign policy influences are well known and well established. David Rockefeller was quoted in his book, Memoirs, as saying on page 405,
Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interest of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it.
The cornerstone of his world influence has been the Council of Foreign Relations, which he chaired for 15 years. The fact that Dick Cheney was ever its leader speaks volumes about its nature. Since 1954, the world's most powerful people have met in secret once a year. They named themselves the Bilderberg Group. In 1977, the Times of London called the Bilderbergers a clique of the richest, economically and politically most powerful and influential men in the Western world. They meet secretly to plan events that later appear just to happen. If all this seems far-fetched, look around. America has been stripped of its industrial base. Our biggest export is employment, while Americans are working harder and longer at service sector jobs for less pay and fewer benefits. Our middle class continues to evaporate while we are being dumbed down in public and private schools, universities and colleges, and by mainstream media and tabloid news. We are distracted by sports, idiotic reality TV shows, video games, and anything else that turns off thinking. Elections have been rigged. People are so fear-ridden by the threat of terrorism that the US, Canada, and Great Britain are all on the verge of becoming police states. Sovereign nation states are being replaced by a series of regional unions with their own currency, such as the European Union and the Euro, or the proposed North American Union and the Amero. A brave new world is coming, and freedom, democracy, thinking, and self-determination are not part of the equation. Nowhere is this massive dance of deception more obvious than with the dancing partners of BP and the US government. Just look at the facts, not the theory, the facts. 1. BP has withheld information from the public from day one. It took 3 weeks for them to release a video of the oil leak. 2. Crews that have been designated to clean up the spill have become sick from the process, but are afraid to speak. 3. In spite of our government's resources and capabilities, which were used to build the Hoover Dam and put a man on the moon, it sits on its thumbs and waits for British Petroleum to tell it what to do. 4. The government has now joined BP in denying the press full access to the oil spill. Failure to adhere to these new rules will result in jail time and a $40,000 fine.
A new rule announced today backed by the force of law and the threat of fines and felony charges. A rule that will prevent reporters and photographers and anyone else from getting anywhere close to booms and oil-soaked wildlife in just about any place we need to be. By now, you're probably familiar with cleanup crews stiff-arming the media, private security blocking cameras, ordinary workers clamming up, some not even saying who they're working for because they're afraid of losing their jobs. BP has said again and again that's not their policy, yet again and again it has happened. We've seen it. But that's BP. Now the government apparently is getting in on the act.
Guess who is by far the largest shareholder of British Petroleum? JP Morgan and Chase Bank with over 27%. Peter Sutherland was the CEO of British Petroleum from 1995 until 2009. While he chaired BP, he was also the chairman of Goldman Sachs International. He was a former director of the Royal Bank of Scotland, Director General of the World Trade Organization, and GATT. But wait, it gets even more obvious. Guess who was on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group and a chairman for the Trilateral Commission? Mr. Sutherland is a very busy man. He has been a very loyal subject, and I am sure he has or will be justly rewarded when a new world government is established, which in my estimation is not far away. For I believe we are in the end game. The actions have become more dramatic, the tactics more brazen, the lies more bold, as we foolishly but willingly are led into a totalitarian world which will be run by the power elite.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.